Why are we bothering?
Well, because of the pressure for us to look younger, the youth fanaticism that we have, the ageism we have, the fact that we can't look at ourselves and think that it's nice. Well, when I decided to go grey, I have a friend who's a barrister and she's 80 now and she's got this black bob and she said, oh, Jean, don't go grey because you'll have a real trouble getting employment in the gig economy. Because I'm in the gig economy, so is she. She's a freelance, barrister. I suppose that's a gig economy. But, and I said, why? And she said, well, all the research shows that if a woman is grey, she gets fewer jobs, and young men don't mind working with older women as long as they're not grey. I'm going, where'd you get this research? And then all I thought was, fuck this, I'm going to go grey. And it was like the one thing that just pushed me over the edge.
Yeah, thank you for validating.
Yeah, so I just thought, fuck it, I can't believe that there is this prejudice, whereas men can go grey. So it's like another frontier that we have to fight for, just to be ourselves and be accepted, however we look.
That's right.
It's just, and then you get Meryl Streep, grey, sure, but not a line on her face.
Not
she looks
a
fucking
line.
amazing, and then you go. Oh.
You're listening to On the Moans, where we have conversations about hormones, midlife, and the moments that make us wonder, is it just me? I'm Kate. I'm a 48-year-old pharmacist and newly minted perimenopausal oversharer. This is where we talk openly about the changes we aren't prepared for, so we never have to feel alone in them again. I acknowledge the Camaragal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land which I am recording today. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. If you're my age or older, my guest today really needs no introduction. In fact, you probably recognised her straight away from that unmistakable accent. She's one of Australia's most loved comedians. You'll know her from The Big Gig, Good News Week, and more recently alongside her great friend Denise Scott in the new series of Mother and Son. Beyond comedy, she's also a powerful advocate, speaking openly about losing her elderly parents and the crucial role of good palliative care. It's a genuine honour to welcome Jean Kittson. Hello, Jean Kittson.
Hello, Kate. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you for coming. It's very exciting. It's very exciting to see you. I thought we might start. So I was dying to know, what sort of a child were you? So were you the quiet observer or were you the class clown?
Well, funny you should ask that, because I once said in a magazine interview that I was the class clown in my, high school years, and I got a phone call from a very old friend. This was when I was in my 30s, and I said I'd been the class clown. Then I get this phone call. Oh, hi, it's I'll call her Mary we went to school. Yeah, Mary, my gosh, I haven't told you for 20 years. She said, I've just been reading about you in the magazine. Have you? Yeah. She said, it said you were the class clown. And I said, oh, right. And she said, I don't remember you ever being funny.
Oh, okay.
So I really learned never to call myself the class clown. Yeah, I must have thought I was really hilarious. She was one of my closest friends for the first 4 years of high school. She didn't think I was funny. And when I was very young, though, and I like to say this because a lot of people feel, shy and they might be intimidated by life or different challenges. But I was a really scared kid, lots of fear. Oh. And I remember I just had to go to a ballet concert and I was just an icicle up the back. All I had to do was wave this bit of silver paper up and down. Nothing in the front of the stage or anything, just almost invisible up the back. And the day of the performance, I just couldn't do it, and I completely I was just sobbing. I was about maybe 7 or 8, sobbing under the kitchen table, holding onto the leg of the table like this one here, holding on it. And my mother couldn't even prise me off it. And then I never went because I was panicking so much. But it taught me a lesson, because I felt worse after not going and letting everyone down. And so one of my big things is being to overcome like fears. You know, I was a fearful child.
Yeah, so not a natural
Performer. No.
So then did you have lots of comedy in the house or around the dinner table?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents were always telling funny stories, and my dad was a bit of a, you know, he loved the old open the matchbox and there's his severed thumb in there, you know, like pranks. He would go to the magic shop in Melbourne when we'd visit. We didn't live in Melbourne, but when we went to Melbourne, the magic shop was one of the places he'd go, and so he could prank us. And
That's so cool.
yeah,
That's really cute.
And my parents, no matter what happened, which lots have happened, you know, like terrible things happen, but it would always end up a funny story. So I was surrounded by people who had a great sense of humour, loved to laugh, and would always be able to find the funny side of something, even black humour, which you would appreciate.
So then how did you decide that a career in comedy was going to be for you?
Oh, well, it was never a decision. I didn't even know comedy was a thing, really. You know, we watched Buster Keaton and the Three Stooges and Benny Hill and whatever was around in the 60s growing up and the 70s, but I never thought of that as a career. I didn't think of the arts as a career. We didn't have, the arts weren't, you know, like aspiring to be an actor was like aspiring to be taller or French or, you know, like it was just out of the question. You just aspired to, you know, finish school, go to uni, as Mum really wanted us to do, and then get a real job. But so the arts weren't part of it. But I ended up in it because I guess I did like writing. I had a drama teacher at Rosebud High in Year 7 who arrived out of the blue. We'd never had drama before, and he wanted us all to put on a play. It was a pretty rough school in those days, really rough, and most people just teased him. But I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And anyway, I wrote a play and I found that I could write it. I mean, I couldn't write a play now, but I could then. You know, I didn't know what a play was. I don't think I'd ever seen a play.
No.
You know, we'd never been to the theatre or anything, or the ballet or anything like that. We just had a pretty ordinary childhood in a beach town, away from, not near the city, and none of the sort of higher arts. But then, just doing that, I realised I really enjoyed writing, and I think that just stuck with me. And then I went to uni and was doing economics and politics and things that I thought I could get a really well-paid job for, and I dropped out after about 6 months. And then I thought, I have to get a degree doing something. And there was a drama school that did drama. It was for teachers. It was a teachers' college, but it did drama, media and dance. And at the time after dropping out of uni, I was working at a commercial art studio as a secretary, answering phones. And there were artists who worked there. There was photographers, illustrators, graphic designers, and I loved what they were doing, and they were getting paid. And I'm going, actually, you can get paid for doing something arty. You know, it was an eye-opener. So then I applied for this teachers' college, and I ended up getting in. And in teachers' college, we put on lots of plays, we made movies, you know, and so it gave me this. Then I taught for a year. You really want to hear all this?
I do.
All right, well, I applied to the Schools Commission to take the arts because I realised for someone like me who just didn't like to... I couldn't concentrate on what I needed. I hate to say it, but now they'd probably call me ADHD. Most people would, but I don't see it like that. I just see that I have to be engaged with something I really like to do, and then I can do well at it. So suddenly I knew I could write from high school, and I knew that if I was left alone, I liked to draw. You know, I was drawn to those sort of things. So I applied for the Schools Commission to take the arts to disadvantaged areas in the Mallee and northwest Victoria, which is quite an isolated area, wheat country. And they were certainly disadvantaged after I'd been there for a year because I had no idea what I was doing with these poor kids, trying to teach them drama. Drama wasn't even on the syllabus. So we ended up just doing lots of role playing and having fun, which was good, but I don't think, which might have been good for one or two people who, found that it triggered something for them. Anyway, I don't even know why I mentioned ADHD because this is do you find that controversial?
An adult diagnosis of ADHD?
Yeah.
I think the statistic is something like the prescriptions of ADHD medications. I'm going to now be that person that makes up their own statistic, but it is something like it has increased by 8,000% over the past 10 years or something like that. So I don't know that anybody, I mean, if you actually know the correct statistic, feel free to write in and let me know I got that wrong, but it's something like that. And it's an interesting conversation because everyone's on a statin. We can test for high cholesterol. We've got a great awareness of what high cholesterol can do, and we've got a really safe treatment for it, so it's really widely prescribed. And I wonder if ADHD isn't a bit like that. So it was something that we didn't have a great understanding about. We're starting to get more of an understanding about it. All of these, especially women, especially perimenopausal women, are going through this journey with their children and then see the questions and think, oh, gosh, that sounds just like me. That sounds just like me when I was at school. That sounds just like me. And then even though they're completely
functioning,
yeah, absolutely. But one of my very dear friends has an adult diagnosis of ADHD, and she just finds it so validating because she, I think, has really tried her entire time. She's very, very clever, so had all that masking, was able to pull everything together at the last minute because she was really clever, so did really well at school. All of that, has a great job, all of that.
Yeah.
But I think she just thinks, I feel like I've struggled more than perhaps other people have, and now, thank you, somebody's validated me for feeling like that. I don't think it's controversial. I mean, I work in a shop pharmacy. Loads of prescriptions for ADHD.
Are there?
Yeah.
And do they like them? I'm sorry, I'm asking you. I haven't taken you off topic or anything.
No. So do they like them? I mean, I think my friend who started them, I think she's like, oh yeah, like perhaps it helps me concentrate a bit more, but she's still late, and she still has a huge deep dive into something. If she's concentrating on something, it physically hurts her to wrench her concentration away. It hasn't changed that. It hasn't changed her personality. I mean, it certainly hasn't been a magic fix for her, but I think, and I think
there must be so many different degrees of it too.
There must be, yeah. And also, I mean, I do wonder a little bit if everybody wouldn't do a little bit better on a stimulant. I might do better on a stimulant. I mean, I can hear. I mean, my daughter is upstairs, but I can just hear my family going, "Oh, good Lord, nobody give her a stimulant. It would be intolerable." But I do think, probably we all do a bit better. Because we're all on that spectrum somewhere, so...
That's right, we're all a bit neurospicy when you look at it.
Yeah. So I don't think it's controversial
I remember
anymore.
when my daughter told me that it's the same thing that's happening now that I feel. That's why I hesitated. It was the pushback when I got menopause, the pushback against HRT. And it's just all this sort of rumbling rumours and people going, no, you can't do that, and none of it's, you try to get down to the facts. What are the facts? What's the data about? What are the true clinical trials about HRT rather than just what you read in the media and all that? So I find it really interesting to dig deeper into what's going on.
So I guess one thing we don't have is we don't have adults now who have been children who have been prescribed ADHD medications. We have adults now who have started taking them, but we don't have those children haven't grown up yet to be adults. So I guess we don't have that information. But I think there's a lot of people out there who think, it's prescription speed. It's not. I mean, the stimulants they use are pretty mild,
Yeah.
really. I mean, we're talking a step to the side of pseudoephedrine, which you get for your cold. So,
Right,
it's
right.
not,
Yeah.
it's not like
Yes. Of course you do.
prescription strength speed. It gets a bit dramatized, I think.
Yes.
The whole thing.
Well, I'll never forget when a friend of mine, when I was sort of talking to her about, because I know that my kid, one of my kids in particular, who did psychology and works, is a speech pathologist. She would love me to try and take something for it and see if it'd just help me, focus. And I'm supposed to be writing a book, and it always takes me 5 years to write a book. And then in the end, I have to pull down all the blinds, get up at 4 a.m, and shut the door and just not come out. And then I'm right in it, and I love it, and I can finish. But before that, I've put off the deadline and put off the deadline and put off the deadline and put off, and just, get distracted very easily. But a friend of mine, she said to me, her grandson, who was prescribed it, who's a great kid, maybe 12, I think. And he said when he got medication for his ADHD, it was like suddenly all these blocks in his brain all became patterns, and they were all neat, and he could just finally, focus on them. He said it made a huge difference to him, and it was this wonderful image he gave of these, scrambling blocks everywhere, trying to grab this and grab that idea and grab that, and then them all becoming ordered, and he could do his homework so easily, and he could, stay with what was happening in the class, and I thought, that's miraculous. I mean, we have got these incredible treatments so people don't suffer unnecessarily with whatever it is, or even if you don't want to take treatments, just understanding. Like when I went through menopause, I didn't think anyone talked about it, but I'm sure the generation before me talked about it, but I just wasn't listening because it didn't have anything to do with me.
Yes.
And that's what I find now. I find women who are starting to go through menopause go, why isn't anyone talking about this? Well, we were.
You weren't listening.
But it wasn't relevant to you. But I think and I've heard it in a panel on menopause with, proper experts, say, oh, you young women needn't worry about it. It's not going to happen to you yet. We need to know our full cycle. We need to know our full fertility, how our bodies work, how our hormones work, because when things go wrong or change, we need to be in tune.
Definitely.
And we need to know what to expect. So if we're getting flooding at 60, or we've still got our period at 60, and a woman said to me, I'm still getting my period, I'm still a young, fertile woman. I don't think so. You better go and check that out. That doesn't sound good.
That's not great for you.
No. And unless we know what our bodies are meant to be doing, then we don't know when things are going wrong.
That's such a strange brag. I'm still getting my period. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, good Lord. I know. Oh, okay. But see, the brag is because women, when they hit menopause, often think they're past their use-by date. Their purpose to perpetuate the species, their biological urge is no longer there. So what is their purpose? And they feel that they will be sidelined. Professional women feel they'll be sidelined at work for leadership positions. So it's a strange thing that a lot of women can feel about that it ages them, basically.
So I was trying to think back to what education we were given at school, because I thought, maybe they do tell you about these things, and as you say, it's just so far in the future you couldn't fathom that would ever happen to you. But I don't think when they're telling you about puberty in Year 9 science that they're then talking about the rest of the cycle. And for lots of people, the only science they get is what they get at school, possibly even up until Year 11 when you can drop science if that's not your thing. That's a long time to remember half a sentence that was said, if it was said.
Definitely. We only had one sex ed lesson at school where we were given and it was shown an illustration. We weren't told anything about how our bodies worked. We weren't told about safe sex. We weren't told about pregnancy. We weren't told about ovulation. We weren't told about, how you knew when your period was coming, like when you were we weren't told, we weren't even told how to wash blood out of your school uniform when you missed, the telltale signs. We weren't told anything. I think we were just given this brochure with this fancy, gorgeous, like a Grace Kelly, like a Kate Blanchett in a white ball gown. I think we were given a brochure like that, and it was talking about how we were going to grow up and become mature women, and I don't remember one fact in it. Not one.
No, I don't think. I'm just trying to think. I went to an all-girls school.
Oh, that might have been better.
I don't think it was, though, but I suspect it's better now. I should ask. So Audrey went to North Sydney Girls, and they're very pro-women, learning pro, they're very pro. And I wonder if she had...
Oh, they do. My girls...
probably know that, shouldn't I?
Well, I went to sex... I don't know, maybe they asked the parents. I went to sex education classes at their school, and they were comprehensive. And it was about gay sex and everything.
Right.
So they were really, they were really open. We hid our tampons. No one could see when getting our period was a complete secret, and it was humiliating and it was embarrassing, and we felt ashamed. And whereas my girls were taught to have brightly coloured packs of emergency, pads and tampons. They're right on top of it.
Yeah, they are. Oh no, they absolutely
And they were encouraged to talk to their partners about what was going on and what was not going on for the next few days. They're really open.
No, so I was very pleasantly surprised when Audrey was at school. She'd be very openly sitting at the dinner table with her brother, who is 3 years older, go into lots of detail that... And I thought, I mean, her father as well. Her father is a doctor, so that's but her poor brother, I think, just sat there and went, huh. But I also thought, well, you should know. Why should you not know?
Oh God, yeah. I think having a boyfriend who's got an older sister should be the number one priority. Helpful. When you're looking for a
that's it, for a partner.
Mate. Have you got an older sister?
Do you have a sister? Do you have a sister who is an oversharer? Brilliant.
Excellent.
You will make a good partner. Yeah. Well, they certainly know a lot more about perimenopause and vaginas than I think either of them ever thought.
Now my
could.
kids know a lot about end of life now. And yours would too, probably. So.
Yes, mine do. Yeah, mine do. I guess they hear stories. They haven't experienced it quite like yours. Their granddad died, but they weren't there. I know. That's.
I think I meant when I first started doing some work in the palliative sphere and then learning about end-of-life plans and what, I would come home and make everyone fill them out.
Yes. Well, no.
At the dinner table.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, have you thought about where you want to be why do we have to think
Your advanced care directive, it needs to go on the fridge.
Yeah.
Not your art.
Yeah.
Your advanced care directive.
Forget the finger painting.
No, nobody's interested in that. Yeah. No, it was a question I was going to ask you. I was going to get around to asking you about your experience with palliative care, because you've spoken really openly about it. So I actually had, I've got all this.
Sorry, that's me jumping all over the place.
And I love that. But there was one thing that I had asking for a friend. My beautiful 21-year-old son, so this is getting back to how did you get into comedy and all of that. But he had said to me when he was 2 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be Steve Backshall. Do you know who Steve Backshall is?
No.
Oh, he's a wildlife guy. So he's a wildlife guy, and he goes into the Amazon and he lives off.
Oh yeah, I want to be Steve too.
Anaconda Wee or something.
Yeah.
Like whatever. But he's got a TV show called Deadly 60, and he's really cool, and we've been watching Steve Backshall since he was 2. Anyway, he did his first undergraduate degree, and he's having a year off because he's trying to work out what he wants to do when he grows up. Poor little thing. And I said to him yesterday, so, continuing this conversation, he said, I still want to be Steve Backshall. And I was like, okay, darling. So that sounds fine. Do you think we could have also a proper job? And I was just thinking about what your parents must have thought when when you...
Well, I got a degree, so
Yes.
I knew I couldn't just go off and
No,
go
you
to
did
the
have a-
Victoria College of the Arts or NIDA or something like that. Not that I thought I would ever have got into those places, but I had to have a degree. So doing a Bachelor of Education. So I always had because that's the whole thing. You've got a degree to fall back on.
Yes.
The details are a little bit vague, but,
Yes.
they were there. I think they probably were more horrified when I gave up teaching after a year because I realised I wasn't a very good teacher, but I went into theatre and education. So you can blend it all together, bring it all together. I think we all need to be really mindful of how we're going to support ourselves. I was brought up by a mother who said, the worst day of my life was when I had to put my hand out to your father for $2 for a pair of pantyhose. So she used to say to my sister and I, always have your own money, always have your job. And so that I've grown up with that, and that's how I live. And that's stood me in very good stead. So I've always been independent, and I've been as secure as possible in the arts. But I knew that to support whatever fanciful ideas I had to have a way of making money.
Yes, good. So I can tell him that Jean Kittson said.
Yeah. Freedom is having your own money. What happened for me with a lot of feminism is that they were very disparaging of women who stayed at home, and they became the women that were they were uneducated, they were uninformed, they didn't have any power, and that's not necessarily true.
No.
And I think if women have made that decision to stay at home, and maybe their husband earns more than them, because that's the decision and if the wife earns more now, then the husband often stays at home. So you're making a financial decision. But for a while there, in the 70s and 80s, women who stayed at home were considered with just unsuccessful, weak, not understanding their rights, put upon by men, whereas they might have made an informed decision about that, and that may have been the only decision they could make, or they might have decided that they just wanted to be with their kids and do all that. And so
I think that there is still a lot. I haven't been at the school gate for a long time, but I imagine at the school gate there's probably still a reasonable amount of judgment by women who can't be at the school gate because they're working full time on the women who have chosen to be able to do that. I don't know that for sure because like I said, I'm stood at a school gate for a long time.
Well, I'm having that discussion with my daughter. So I've got a first grandchild who's 14 months and adorable.
Yes.
And she's said she needs to go back to work and put him in childcare. And I, who've worked all through my kids' lives and thought I was doing the right thing because I was told we women could have everything. We could be a super mom, we could be a domestic goddess, we could be a CEO, we could be a sex goddess, everybody happy, husband happy, children happy, bonuses rolling in. And then you have I was told that having a baby would not change my life at all. Yeah. That's what we were told in the 80s. That a baby just fitted in with your life, and a baby changes everything. So I'm having these discussions as a grandparent now, having lived my life the way I thought it was, and it was a nightmare trying to juggle everything. But luckily I had work that I could pivot. I could change the way I worked. So I stopped doing theatre because that was 6 nights a week. I stopped doing television because that was 15-hour days. And I went into more corporate work and event work and emceeing, where I'd be just away a couple of nights a week of that. So that's how I managed it, because I could manage my work. But if you're working, 9 to 5, or you're working where you've got 12-hour days, if you're working for banks or finance companies or whatever, that where then you don't necessarily have those choices. But I'm looking at my daughter going, if I had my time over, I'd be at home rolling on the grass with you, till you were about 3.
Until you were about 20.
Till you were about 20, that's right. And I don't know whether that's realistic or I'm just being nostalgic or I'm being if I'm over-sentimentalising it. But I really feel that I was stressed a lot of their time when they were really little.
Yeah, I think
and consequently they're stressed. You know, like they have to deal with their not consequently.
No.
But I don't know whether it's a consequence or it's just genetic. But
I think you're surviving, aren't you? I feel like looking back at that time, you got half a nostril above the water edge, but the water line, trying to take in little gasps of oxygen because you're really just
drowning.
You're really just drowning in everything. I don't know. I like to blame it's easy to blame living in Sydney because everything's really expensive and you need 28 incomes to be able to afford, a house. I wonder if is it any more relaxed if you live in the country? I don't know. But I think that for me, I definitely had to go back to work because there was only so much rolling around on the grass I wanted to do.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's right. And then I needed to be able to go and do something else so that I was better at than rolling around in the grass. I know that there are lots of people who are really good at playing. I was never good at playing. I would always sit down. I would sit down and say, here's probably a diagnosis. I would sit down and we'd sit down with our Lego and we'd go, okay, let's make this thing. And I go, okay, I'm just going to go and put the washing on. And then I'd do that and I'd come and sit back down and I'd say, okay, well, you put that yellow one there. I'm just going to go and hang the washing out. So I was never, ever very good at playing. So I probably needed to go back to work.
Yeah, well, that's right. I think I've got the luxury of, a lot of grandparents think like me because suddenly we're looking back on what we would have done differently. And that's not to say we should dismiss what our generation are thinking now. But we could take it on board, but we also have the luxury of, saying, oh, this is, you'll miss it, you won't do, But of course, I know my daughter really wants to get back into work. She's frustrated professionally, but she loves playing. She's good at playing. I'm good at playing. I did a really good game with my 14-month-old. I bought him one of those plastic swings. Hopefully it stays up. But anyway. And where I realised just how important clowning is. So to kids and because he can't speak yet except to say ball and dog, which is apparently my name, either dog or ball. Yeah. And then you push the swing and then you turn. Then he comes forward, grabs a small Kit Kat, which he doesn't. I'm not allowed to give it to him, but I just happen to have it in my hand. He grabs it out of my hand as he swings back, and then he throws it on the ground, and then he swings back, and I bend down to pick it up, and then he kicks me in the bum, and he laughs and laughs, and I go, that is what we used to laugh at circuses, it never changes, those sort of slapstick. Anyway, that's just a tip for all those grandmothers who want to get kicked in the bum.
And I'm going to pause us there because this conversation with Jean Kittson is just too good to rush. In the next episode, we go even deeper into midlife. Yes, we're talking sex, relationships, and all the things we're apparently not supposed to talk about, which obviously means we absolutely will. And very importantly, Jean meets Horace, which honestly might just be the highlight of the entire series. So make sure you come back for part 2. I'll see you next time we get on the moans. Bye-bye.